Now in this question we're being asked to work out of ethane ethanol, which is going to have the more negative enthalpy of combustion. Now we can't just look at the figure and do an evaluation. We need to obviously do something more than that. Now the obvious thing would be to use products minus reactants, the sum of the products of enthalpy of formation minus the sum of the products, the reactants enthalpy of formation, and do a subtraction and work that out if we had that information. We have been given the formation enthalpy of these two, so it may be possible to work this out if everything else is constant. So the first obvious thing is to actually just write an equation and see what we can find out. So if we do the equation for ethane being combusted and do a balancing, we see that there are 2 carbons on this side, so we write a 2 here. We see that there are 6 hydrogens, so we put a 3 here, and that leaves us with 3, 4, 7 oxygens on that side, so that's going to be 3.5 oxygens here. Now, before we even go any further, obviously the number of oxygens here is almost immaterial because the enthalpy of formation for an element is equal to 0, but we'll carry on here anyway, and there's going to be 2 C's here, and we're going to have again 6, so there's going to be 3 H2O's, and that's going to, so again we're getting an indication here that they're on the right track. These numbers are exactly the same, they're constant, so we can get away with perhaps not even knowing what they actually are. And if we then have a look at the, just balancing it off for the sake of doing that to show our working, we've got 7 oxygens again, but we've got 1 here, so we're going to have 3 here. So we've got those balanced now. Now we'll just need to redo this and see what we can find out. Okay, and I've just rewritten this, and we can see we're using this standard formula of products minus reactants with the sum of the enthalpy of formation for the products minus the sum of the enthalpy of formation for the reactants. And if we look at ethane and ethanol, obviously we've got the same reactants here, and products here, and that means this can essentially be treated as a constant, so we could call that, x if we want, or y, whatever. And this double negative, we just need to take care of, that becomes a plus. So if we're adding a 84 here versus adding 235, obviously that means if we add 84 to this is going to end up being less the most negative, because if we add more positive it's going to make this one less negative. So I know that sounds confusing, but we're adding a positive number here. So if we add 235, whatever the value of this is going to end up being the more positive value. So ethane is going to be more negative. So if ethane's more negative, that means we've really been able to deduce from that which has the more negative enthalpy of combustion, and that would be ethane. Okay, and that's all to do with just realizing that those numbers are constant, so we don't actually have to know them. We just need the others. Okay, and that's that question answered.